If you want to know how to create your own original blues bass lines, then stick around, this video is for you. You'll learn 3 tips on how to create your very own blues bass lines over the 12-bar blues, the standard 12-bar blues chord progression. So hello, if you don't know me by now, I'm Donald Witt, the bass instructor of the How to Play Bass online course at iwanttoPlayBass.com. And if you're new to my channel, subscribe down below, hit that bell notification, and be notified. I've got lots of videos about the blues and other genres of music and lots of other bass lessons, that tips that will help you develop your skills as a bassist. Now, if you have seen my channel, you'll know how much I focus on the blues and how significant the blues is to our music today, and that's why I go in depth with it, because it's such an important part of our music today, and it has influenced our music for many years and is still influencing today. And the blues is known throughout the world. Almost anywhere in the world you can go and find somebody jamming on the blues. So needless to say, it's a significant part of our music today. It's one of the best genres because of the freedom that it has, that there's a lot to learn. You can learn the music theory as well, and just the freedom that it allows you, and the standard setup that everybody is aware of, and you can just get together as your group, and you just can play this all night long. There's no, it's not like classical music where you sit down and this is how it's played. Blues gives you the freedom to improvise and just kind of work together, and it's fun to do. It's just so much fun. You can get together with your band. If you're new, just getting together, you're new to the instrument, and you've got all new beginners, it's perfect because it's so much fun. You're actually making music, and it feels good. It's something that everybody will recognize. You can play the blues anywhere and everybody will recognize it. So that's why I like to focus on it, and I think it's where you're going to get the best, the best skill set is from learning the blues first in that foundation, without knowing the other stuff, but to jump in, once you've learned the other fundamentals, then you jump into blues music and you move forward. So tip number one is just basically taking the standard 12-bar blues, which standard is going to be a 1-4-5 chord progression for 12 bars, and typically it's there's a lot of variations, but today we're going to talk about the standard one and the most prevalent 12-bar blues, and it's typically going to be 4 bars of, we're going to do it in the key of G today. So it's typically going to be 4 bars of a G chord, which will be a dominant 7 chord. In the blues, unless it's a minor blues, then if it's just a G7, if it's not a minor 7, then it's going to be just your regular blues. And it's going to be a G7 for 4 bars. So you're going to be on a G7 for 4 bars, and then you're going to move to the 4, which would be the C7 for 2 bars, and go back to the G7 for 2 more bars. So now we've got 8 bars under our belt. Then on the 9th bar we jump to the D7, which is the 5th, and then for 1 bar, and then down to the C7 for another bar. Now we're at 10, 9, 10. Now we've got bar 11 will be the G7 again, and then the 12th bar we'll go to the 5, the D7 again, and then that will end it, and we'll start right back to the top on the G7. Now, a standard way to do this, if you're new to the blues, then this is how you want to get a feel for the blues. You want to just go ahead and make it a little easy on yourself, and as you and your guys or your gals are playing this, and you get a little more comfortable with it, you get a little more time under your belt, then you can open up to the second tip and the third tip I have. But for now, we're just going to focus on the 8th notes, so we can. Now, typically in the blues, it's going to be a shuffle. It doesn't have to be a shuffle, and that's something you need to work out with your drummer. See what he's playing and run. If he's playing a shuffle, then you're going to follow that as well. Typically, the blues is going to be a shuffle. More times than none, it's going to be a shuffle, but it can definitely be a straight 8th feel as well. There's no rule saying it has to be a shuffle, but typically the blues feel is going to be a shuffle. See how that, it's not a straight eighth. It's not a straight eighth, it's a shuffle. That eighth note is just a little off. It's not a straight tock, 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 tock. It's a tock, 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 tock. Almost got a little ghost note in there. That eighth note is cut short. So on that last bar, on that D7, you can mix it up a little bit just to give you a feel that we're ending this phrase, starting a new one, or starting it over. We're going back to the top, so you can just go right back into the groove. So you're a little free on that 12th bar. You got a little freedom, and as I've done in previous videos, I've got a lot of blues bass riffs that I've done, and you can check those out. I typically don't do the 1 to 5. I'll stay on it'll be the last, the 10th, the 11th and 12th bar will be on the G7 again, and then so we've got to fill. I got a bunch of cool bass riffs that we add into that, but that's a little different. We don't throw that 5th isn't the 12th bar. We stay on the G for 2 bars, and it frees it up for our blues turnarounds. And I've got lots of videos. I've got several blues turnarounds, one of them, and just blues bass riffs. Check those videos out, and you will get a good idea and to add to your ideas. Okay. So back to this one. So it's just a shuffle, or we can go with a straight eighth, and it's just. This is not unusual. It's a little, got a little more drive to it, a little more upbeat. Whoops, I messed up. So it depends on what you're going for too, as the ensemble. If you're going for a drive, you want people, either way, people will get up and dance to it. But the straight eighth can be more of a driven, you know, it's a rock blues, you could say, but it's more driven, and it feels a little more upbeat with because you're accenting every beat is strong in here, so it's just, you know, it's got a little more upbeat, more tempo, where the shuffle is kind of laid back a little bit. Kind of lays off to be just a smidgen. Where that straight eighth note, you're right on the beat. Totally different groove. So depends on what y'all are going for, and you know, you've got to work that out between one another. But they are two different feels. The drummer, if he's hitting straight eighths on that hi-hat, then you want to be right there with him. If he's hitting a shuffle, you know, just a little laid back on the eighth notes, then you want to be there with him. But if you're not, it won't work. So you've got, really, as a bassist, you really got to focus on the drummer, and you've really got to work with the drummer. You are laying down that bottom end, and you two are working together on those down beats, up beats, back beats, and all. That is you two working together on those, on that. So tip number 2 is going to be, just take a standard blues pattern, and there's several of them out there. I've got more videos to check out as well on standard, but we'll just take the standard one here. So just just take that standard pattern, and I mean, that's a perfect one. Like I say, if you're just grooving with your guys, you can do that to get a feel for, just to have fun with it, and just to get some exercise, get some emotions out, you know, just get it out there. So that's one way to do it. Just take your standard pattern, and it's going to be, we're still in the key of G, so G7, we're going to go G, we're going to go G, B, D, G, B, D, E, D, G, D, E, D, B. So that's a standard pattern. Take that and have fun with it. You can, the same thing goes with the shuffle or the straight eighth notes. You can play it both ways depending on what feel you're going for, and you know, as long as you and the drummer are clear on what feels you're going for, then you can do that. I mean, as long as your drummer knows that, hey, we want to get these people up and get them up and moving, then go with that straight eighth. So, like I say, work that out and let your drummer know, if he doesn't already know, listen, we want to get these people up, let's do a straight eighth. If you want them still up, but they're just, you know, kind of grooving, it's more groovier with the. So you can do the shuffle there, and with the shuffle, you're a little more attuned to do these ghost notes, which really grooves your bass line and really makes it a lot more funner. And if your drummer's kind of a new drummer, then you know, he might not be adding a lot to it. He'll just be doing the straight snare 2, kick 1, 3, and you know, just a standard shuffle on there. Well, just some ghost notes in there. Maybe not every time, but every now. But yeah, you can do that as well. So, you know, as you develop, you can add those to it to give that color. Okay. So number 3, another way, a little more difficult and a little more advanced, but still not too advanced. I mean, just some basic stuff, but little advanced basics, you know. So you can take the chords, the notes of that chord, and target those notes. And the important notes of a G7 chord are going to be a G, B, D, and an F. Okay, so just target those notes in your line, and then just create a pattern. You can, any pattern, as long as it fits in there rhythmically, and you're hitting the downbeats with the root notes where they need to be in that root note. And now, if you're just doing a walking bass line, you don't have to hit that root note all the time, but you need to be in that chord. You need to be on a note of that chord. And standard, you want to be on that root note, because most likely your guitarists are going to be comping chords and they're not driving that root note home. They're just taking, you know, maybe inversions or what of it, but they're not going to be carrying that root note, and you want to be on that root note to really define that chord progression in a walking bass line. But you know, as you develop as well, the advance, you can really still define that chord progression with the significant notes of that chord. You don't have to be on that root note on one every single time. You can avoid that. You can add more color by not being on that root note, and just have your, you know, those chords, those notes, significant notes of that chord at that one downbeat, and still define the chord progression. But we're not talking about that today. That's more advanced stuff. We'll talk you know, that can come later on, or you can jump over to iwannaplaybase.com, sign up, and then we dig into that stuff there as well. Long lessons, you know, not long, but informative lessons that really help you out a lot. So that's over there. But we're just going to talk, just create your own pattern. You just take those GBD in a G7, GBD7, and just create a pattern. And now this is the funnest one, because you can create your own pattern, and it becomes your baseline, and that's you know, it's your color. It's what has influenced you comes out into your baseline. Okay, so what you've been listening to is going to come out in that line a little bit here and there. What sounds good and what you enjoy a lot is going to come out in that baseline, and therefore you'll like it a lot and have a great time with it. So that's why I say just take a pattern and just create a pattern. And when you create that pattern, make it consistent with each chord. Your 4 chord and your 5 chord, you're going to do half of it because you're only there for a bar, where the 4 chord and G chord, or 1 chord, you're going to be there for 4 bars or 2 bars. So this one's going to be half of that phrase that you're working on. Or you just make that, you just walk that pattern. When you go to the 5, you just create a pattern and walk right down to the 4, and then the 4 walks down to the G, and then you go back to the 5. So what I would do, I would just create this pattern right here. So you can do anything. I mean, you can just do that. You just just make sure you stick with that pattern. Just pick your pattern and make sure it fits in the groove, and stick with it. Stick with it, and every blues jam you do will be different. It'll be a new one. So that's what's so great about the blues. You know, your options are so unlimited. So hope you enjoyed that, and I will catch you all on the flip flop. Bye now.